He's a hustler, unbreakable, a people's person, and a future billionaire. This is The Hustler's Corner with Sbu Liope, well known to you and I as DJ Sbu.
Hello everyone, welcome to The Hustler's Corner. This is a place where we get to inspire a new generation of young hustlers out there, so you guys get to learn from some of the people that have walked the path or that are currently walking their path in their journey to come here and share with us their stories. And this person that I have here today is a mother, an entrepreneur, a broadcaster, media person. She's a media marvel. She's been in the industry quite some time, got experience, and I'm really, really blessed to be a part of the same team with her. We're working together. She's a colleague of mine, and we pretty much came up together at the same time in the industry. So the conversations we're having today about how she's been able to hustle the media industry and how she's been able to be the Penny Lebyane that we know today. And I'm sure you guys already can tell that this is Penny sitting on this table. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome another hustler who's still relevant till today. How did she do it? I don't know. How does she continue to do it? I don't know. How does she continue to multitask and do all these things? I don't know. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome Penny Lebyane to the Hustler's Corner.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to
I'm not going to stand up, hug you, or
okay,
just shake hands or high five.
Yeah, you can high five me. Yeah.
So you've got the Massive Metro's morning show, and you've got the afternoon show. But we didn't start at Massive Metro. We both worked for Metro FM. We've both worked for a whole lot of other stations. So this conversation promises to be quite an incredible one. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I know we've been trying to plan it for a while.
Yeah. And I saw MacGyver beat me to it, and big up to MacGyver. Shout out to my youngster there doing big things on the podcast world. I'm actually happy for MacGyver because he's also a radio person, and when he was fired from Highfield, I was like, but bro, take this podcast thing seriously. And I'm looking at it now, I'm like, yo, the boy is doing really well online, you know.
No, awesome.
So big up to MacGyver.
He's really definitely built it, in a very interesting way. But I mean, it's I always believe that, the different conversations will have a different people because we all are different energy. And so I'm looking forward to our conversation because our conversation is our conversation.
And I like that. By the way, good interview with MacGyver.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, big up. Dope interview, MacGyver. Well done, bro. I'm really proud of you, With what you're doing, continue doing it. It's gonna bring in money later. But for now, you're on the right path, bro. Don't mess it up. Just keep growing that podcast. It's the dopest podcast in the country.
Awesome.
So we want to be like him as well.
Yeah.
But us, we focus more on inspiration because I don't care about gossip. I don't care who did what with who. Or I just want you guys to be inspired because this is the hustler extraordinaire. Some people, or a lot of people, think you're from Soweto. Some people think, are you from Bushbuck? Where are you really from? Let's talk about your upbringing. Penny Lebyane from back in the 80s, because I'm an 80s baby, you know?
Okay. So, I what you call a, I'm a multi-dimensional person in everything I do, in everything I am. I have multi-dimensional experiences. I have a multicultural experience. My life is multi-layered like that. So I was born in Bushbuckridge. I went to my primary school and everything was in Bushbuckridge.
So you are from Bush?
Yes, I am. I was born in Mapulaneng Hospital.
Wow.
I was conceived and born in Bushbuckridge. So I went to primary school. I did everything that village girls in Bushbuckridge do. I went to primary school there. I went to initiation school there.
What are some of those childhood memories? Would you go for distances, getting water?
Yes, getting water.
Because that was apartheid South Africa at the time.
So that's in the old Lebyane government, which is, in the current day, Bushbuckridge falls under the Mpumalanga province. But it's the first story of South Africa's demarcation conversations, where towns were supposed to be demarcated to what province. So because of language and culture in Bushbuckridge, so Mapulana people are a clan within the Pedi people.
Yeah.
So by language, we are Limpopians, but by location and demarcation, we belong to Mpumalanga, which when people in Mpumalanga, they think Nelspruit, they think Swati.
Yes.
They don't, and that's the Highveld, because remember Mpumalanga is divided into two. There's the Highveld and the Lowveld. So, but by socialization and cultural context, I've got Tsonga culture because my dad is a Moroka raised Tsonga. Okay. So that's a language and a culture that's part of my culture. Then my mother is a Mopulana, okay, which is part of the Pedi clan. But the Bushbuckridge area is occupied by Mapulana people and Tsonga Shangaan people. So they are a part of the Shangans coming out of Mozambique mainly. And then when you move out of Bushbuckridge, Hazelview, White River, Nelspruit, then you meet the Swati people who are influenced by the Swazi culture. So my grandmother, to a certain extent, has Swazi heritage. So when people say to me, are you from Limpopo or Mpumalanga? I say, and I'm like, does the nail have a finger? I mean, does the finger have a nail? And it's the same thing to me. It makes no difference. But it's because of when they demarcated. You know, Bushbuckridge was the first town to actually fight the demarcation thing, because all along we reported to Petersburg. In the new government, we had to report to Nelspruit.
By the way, guys, Petersburg is Polokwane and Nelspruit is
Mbombela. Yeah, do you know what I mean? So and then I always put in that context because my life is affected by all of those things. And
that's the context.
That's the context of where I come from. And then at 13, I come to go to high school to live with my parents in Soweto. But in between, when I was going to school in Bushbuckridge and coming to high school in Soweto, I was going back and forth with my parents in the city, coming to visit. So I literally lived with my parents when I was born in 76. My brother was born in 78. Then I was shipped back to Bushbuckridge because we lived in Deep Kloof at some point when I was a baby. So they sent me back when I turned 2 to 3 because my brother was born. My brother and I are like 18 months apart.
Okay.
So I went to go live with my grandparents. Then I started school at like 4, turning 5 or 5, you know, like I was
started early.
I started very early because my aunt was a teacher.
Yeah.
And then I was this kid at home.
A smart kid.
And then my aunt was a teacher, said this child is bored, and she started taking me to school. So that's how I started school earlier. Then so we would come to Soweto, to Deep Kloof. I'd go to Katlehong when my parents lived in Katlehong, and eventually my parents bought a house in Pimville in Zone 4. So I came to go to high school in Pimville when I turned 13. So
you were a teenager at the time, right?
So I'm a Bushbuckridge born and bred. I'm a teenage Sowetan. So my teenagehood is formed by being a kid in Soweto. Literally, I go to high school and then I get exposed to other cultures. So even my linguistic prowess comes from that, because being in Bushbuckridge, already I spoke about Swazi, I spoke about Shangaan Tsonga, now I spoke about Sipulana, and I spoke about Sepedi. So those are already the 4 languages that I spoke by the age of 6.
Wow.
So already at 6.
So you're already born to be a broadcaster.
I'm already multilingual, I'm multicultural at that age. Then I'm already exposed to city life and rural life. So that's where I tell people I'm a multi-level, multi-dimensional broadcaster, because the context of my cultural background and heritage informs that.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm not a city girl only, and I'm not a township girl only. I'm not a rural girl only. I have all those experiences.
And how does that help you in bringing up your kids right now as a mother?
As a mother, it really helps me in a big way, because I'm able to look at things 360. I mean, I don't know if there's anything beyond 360. My experience is informed by that. But as a mother, actually that's how I really approach my life. I look at multiple ways of dealing with that to hone, an idea. So by the time I get to a decision, I'm informed by a lot of elements. So I don't, people think I shoot from the hip. I shoot from the hip, but my hip is very loaded. It's very loaded. It's like there's layers to it.
Yes.
So firstly, as a mother, my approach is not just tunnel vision. It's like I try to bring the different experiences. And my kids bring in another layer, because my kids don't have the rural experience that I have. They didn't go to school in the township. They didn't grow up in the township. They live a life of Kensington B and Bryanston, and then at the same time, I need them to be exposed to the other aspect, but that's not their full-on experience. I went to an all-black school in the township. They go to, an all multi-diverse school where there's kids from Nigeria, Zimbabwe, and then they only have white teachers.
I know.
You know what I mean? So their experience is totally different. So I have to bring my experience, but I also have to learn from what they're going through.
It's quite interesting that you're bringing the education aspect of it. I mean, I'm meeting a lot of parents. I'm a parent as well to a 6-year-old. The conversations we're having right now is, are we okay with? Are we going to continue sending our kids to European education? Are we okay with it? Are we happy with it? Or is there something going to be done as far as curriculum and our kids are concerned? I mean, I know a couple of friends that are homeschooling their kids, for instance. What is your take on that?
So we can't be okay with it. We can't be happy with it. We can't rest on our laurels about it. We can't just sit and say that's what it is, because the first generation of the Model C schools, Model C school children, they had no choice in doing that. You know.
The tatra dressing, ne? No, I'm telling you, just mayonnaise is fine.
Mina ngicela a fresh chopped chili. Okay, home make it. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. So we can't be happy about that, you know. But we have to be concerned about it, and then we have to be concerned about it. But are we in a position to do something about it? It's a yes and no. You know, it takes personal will, because you know it's not a government responsibility, because government has given us political will. You know, we can will the things that we want, and it's like there. But our problem is that we sit and say, but what is the government doing? Pre the dawn of democracy, I could name all the #1 schools in Limpopo, in the old Leboa, that were ahead and they were progressive about educating people in Leboa. There was Motswako, there was Boy and Boys. Somebody from the Eastern Cape somebody from Eastern Cape can name the same school. Somebody from KZN, you know, Ohlange and all of that. Why can't we name them today? And those were predominantly black schools. And a lot of the most successful people in our country.
I know Marwapul and Botswana.
Exactly.
I know
in Swaziland.
African school in the Northwest.
Well, that's a new one.
A brilliant school.
That's a post-democracy one. I'm talking about pre-dawn.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, if we did a roll call of people who are in positions of power, whatever, currently, they went to those schools. What did they do to maintain those schools for generations to come? They did nothing. So we can't cry foul, because one, we didn't maintain our own institutions, and that was our responsibility. The very same people took their kids to the white schools, to the St. John's and whatever, and then we cry when the people in St. John's want to maintain their culture in the school. What did we do to maintain our own? We did nothing. So for this generation, we have an opportunity to either resuscitate those schools with intention of educating our children based on the challenges that we've identified in the education system, because we can influence those. But we and at the same time, we want to change the status quo at St. John and St. David's and whatever. But it's very difficult because we don't come with a history of St. John. We're not alumni, you know, your parents are not alumni. The people who sit in St. Stephen's or St. John's, governing bodies, if it's not a public school, it's not a governing body, they have a school committee, whatever. They influence how the rugby A team is chosen. They influence who the guy from the CEO of FNB sponsoring the varsity cup at the school. We are not in that circle for us to influence. But if we took it upon ourselves to revive Ohlange, Motswako, whatever, we could be able to influence that because we can identify, who.
The homemaking.
Yeah,
that's fine.
We can. Thank you, Sbu.
Yeah, you're welcome. But and then the chili is very hot.
Okay, I'll try. I like hot things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we can kind of like influence.
I also like hot things.
Yeah. Yes.
And hot people.
So we can somehow influence that, Sbu. So if we make an effort, and I think in that way, one, it'll speak to Black excellence. It'll recapture our history of being able to be sufficient and self-reliant before then. But it'll help our kids and us bridge the gap of who we are before pre-94 and what we were able to achieve, because we've also lost the essence of that. It's like we never had schools before.
It's very important because even now, I mean, I understand your take, this is what a lot of people say. But just taking that extra effort to teach them about African history and African culture.
So I was gonna bring another context. That's first base. Then the second base is we have a lot of responsibility to do at home. One of the things that I do is language advocacy. I work with Pensel and all of that. Okay. My food is small. I want to complain.
You want to complain? It's fine. You can have some of mine. It's okay. I don't mind.
I'm gonna ask for more. So. Language is very important. We have to do that stuff at home. Language, we have to do it at home.
Let me disturb you first. Who's going to pray?
Oh, okay. Thank you, Lord, for the food that we're about to receive. Thank you for the communion and the friendship and everything that we're about to unleash here. Thank you. Amen.
Amen.
Bless the hands that make the food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we have a responsibility to teach about history in our homes. That's our responsibility, to put context to things for the very same children who are in those schools, because they're not going to be, they're not going to be taught the things that we want them to be taught. Homeschooling, great. I've considered it plenty of times, especially with the kind of work that I do, and I'm very proud of the parents who are doing it. Yeah, because my son is 14, so these conversations I was battling with 14, 15 years ago already. Yeah. But I'm glad that you guys were having 6-year-olds. Yeah. There's a lot of you. Because 14 years ago when I was saying this, I sounded like a crazy woman. What's wrong with that? Oh, she says, we must speak to the children in Lini in their own language. You know what I mean? And that stuff filters in every aspect. I'll make it. Yeah, it's about that. It's about. And we are failing them. We are failing them. And then Obokoko are not helping. Nabobakulmabantana is Lum. Koko, why? Because what the lag is. No, but Abamako, Mangi Sabantana Mamgu Koko. Mama Kulman is Lum. Why are you talking? Mariam Chelo Koko with Ma. Agafu, you Koko. No, you like about for Abokoko. Abokoko was Abokoko was Pelabantan. Abokoko was Looks like it has nothing to do with English. Do you know what I mean? So and that mentality messes me up in dinner and totally. But it's actually just a generic societal problem. But it's a post-colonial, in our case, post-colonial, slavery. Apartheid. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. So that's what we have to have those conversations as the contemporary parent, because we can't keep doing the same thing and expecting different results.
Now let's bring it back to the industry. I mean, what made a village girl like yourself arriving in Soweto and just thinking they can get into broadcasting? And I can imagine parents in those days, Abaz Albech was like, what? What happened? How did you get inspired to get into the industry? And how did you get into the industry?
So, now that I can put context to things when I speak, I'm reading Dr. Is it Shafali? Book, Conscious Parenting. I would like to give my parents credit that my parents are not academic, they're not educated, they didn't hold like executive jobs. My dad worked for a nail manufacturing company. My mom was an ordinary housewife. They consciously raised me by not putting rules on me. They gave me freedom to be.
Wow.
Yeah, like I was allowed to explore and be. So my parents didn't tell me you have to love yourself. They just loved me and showed me love. They didn't say to me, you must value education. I just read and loved books, and they allowed me to love books. So they didn't say you need to express yourself. They allowed me to express myself. They didn't instill fear in me of like, hey, if I said I wanted to enter, if I wanted to enter a beauty pageant, my mom would go with me. If when I first got on radio, my dad would drive me to work and wait for me, and I could say, "Usbusiso akafuna ukungiletha ngicela ningilande." Angeke bathi bakushaye ukuthi why no hambe nosbusiso, So unconsciously, without them knowing, they did good with me, So that helped me. So how I got into radio is that. Obviously, I come to live in Soweto in my teens. I go to high school at Tabachabula. I consumed a lot of media. I've always had as a child. Even when I lived in Bushbuck Ridge, I used to listen to radio dramas in all languages. On Tobela, which was Radio Lebyane now. Now it's Tobela FM. On Mongana Nelone, which was Radio Gazankulu.
Wow, remember that.
So
wow, my goodness.
So radios, I don't know, Swati, which is Likwalakwala or something. So I was exposed to the Ikwekwezi. There's Ikwekwezi, there's Ndebele, it's Kwalakwala, Ikwekwezi. So I used to listen to that. And then we went on a school trip, I think when I was 7, turning 8, to Polokwane. Petersburg, which is Polokwane now. We went to go play. We were in the school in Seshego there. We went to Manyeleti, and one of the things that we did was go to the SABC in Polokwane. So I got to see a radio studio and where they do the dramas for the first time and say, this is the mic, this is what. But obviously at that time,
excuse me, sorry to disturb, guys. By the way, she's talking about dramas.
Yeah.
For the younger guys who don't know, we used to. You see what you guys watch, the soapies that you guys watch, the Queen Generations on TV. We used to have those on
radio soapies, radio
yes.
soapies. Yeah.
So they'll play it out. They'd even make those fake sounds like a car is driving.
Yeah.
Like maybe there's like a cricket just to show that it's at night. Hey, no, there's wrong with everything. So
story radio.
Can you imagine?
So obviously that stimulates your imagination as a child. Then I get into the studio. They explain to me that's the world of radio.
Yeah.
Obviously, I didn't understand and make the connection. Only in hindsight, when I look back at my radio career, somehow that sparked something. I believe in my neurology in my brain somewhere out there. Because I think those things register in your consciousness and whatever.
Yeah.
Then, as a teenager in Soweto, I consumed a lot of media. I mean, even when I was in Pushback Ridge, I'd read a lot of newspapers. I would read a lot of magazines. My mom used to just buy magazines, and then if she came home, she'd send them. So I read a lot of books. Even with my cousins, when I went to go visit them, they were in a Tsonga school because they were in the Gazankulu side of things, and then I was in the Lebyane side of things. So our school holidays would clash. I would sit and read their books in Tsonga. That's how I know how to read Tsonga and speak Tsonga. So during school holidays, I would just read their books. And I was sitting there because they were in the same grade, but in a different school, a different calendar and all that. So how I get into radio is, I'm in Pimville. I live there. I'm reading. I listen to Radio Bob. I used to love Radio Bob. I listened to Metro, a bit of Metro, but Radio Bob was the one because I used to listen to George Manuel. Whenever Kayakula, but after the fact, I used to listen to Zandi Lenzalo, or Teach Matez, that generation as a kid. And then obviously, then you see them on Pop TV, and then you start seeing the likes of Melanie Son, Brenda Sisani, Nothemba Madum, or Reading News, Bob Mapena. And then I entered Miss Soweto. Radio Bob was a sponsor. So I used to call into radio stations, on Radio Bob to enter competitions. And then obviously I listened to a bit of Metro. I think Bob moved to Metro at some point. Glenn came to us. So then, that's that generation that I started listening to. I listened to Zen on 702, Shero Twala at some point. Then I started understanding how the medium works. And then where we lived with my parents, the back opposite of our house was Kaiser Ngwenya, who's now, I think, a features editor for Drum Magazine. So there were a lot of Pimville, and so it kind of exposed me to, I could make the connection, these people are on TV, or they write in newspapers or magazines. Oh, okay, so this is media. That's when the whole world of media started unfolding. And then you see Osipo Hot Sticks Mabuse, because he lives in Pimville, Brenda Fassi thriving somewhere. So then the world of entertainment is growing. So by the time I entered Miss Soweto, which I was in standard 8 going to 9, or 9 going to, I think standard 9, the world of media was now part of, and entertainment was unfolding in a big way. So then the IBA issues community licenses. They start doing the trainings with Soweto Community Radio. So I was one of the first people to go to Soweto Community Radio for training. So, but I never went.
Your audition.
You had to come in there. They were looking for young people who can be part of that. But Soweto Community Radio is an SCR in Soweto. So this is before they merged Soweto Community Radio and in Josie FM and Voice of Soweto and all that. But I never worked for Soweto Community Radio. I only did a training. So when I went to do training, I think I was in standard 9, and then going to standard 10. And then I went into my matric year.
I think the Dakila family was running it at the time. No,
they ran Voice of Soweto. So this is Soweto Community Radio with Mpo and them. The first, so that was the first one before even Voice of Soweto was around. Because Voice of Soweto was in downtown in Fox Street, and then Soweto Community Radio was in Dube. So I went to Dube. I met Kabzela there. I met who's the other guy that was there? The other people.
Leo.
Not even. Leo was not at SCR. This is you're talking Voice of Soweto. So this is Soweto Community Radio.
SCR.
So people from SCR, the memorable person from SCR would be Soweto Kabzela. Umpo is still there. Those are the first. Then there was a lady called Tutu there. Some of them are still there. And then I didn't work for them. I just did that training. Then focused on my. Actually, I was thinking in the middle of my matric year. Then I did my matric writing and all of that. Then the following year, after I passed my matric, in between studying and not having money to go to uni and all of that stuff, I went to Voice of Soweto. So for Voice of Soweto, I read about them in the newspaper. There's this other station that's based in the Carlton Center. I was working as a receptionist for a communications company. I'd gotten myself a job so I can be able to pay through for my school because I was studying part-time, studying PR. Then I called them and I asked to audition to be a newsreader. I went there on a Friday. I was reading on a Saturday. Something went into your drink.
Is it? It's okay.
Hey, son. Oops, it's a fly. Shut. Ew.
It's okay.
Yeah. So then I did the training with Voice. So I went to Voice of Soweto, started as a newsreader, worked late nights, hosted a couple of shows, and then put together my demo tape, applied to Metro FM, and then that's how I got onto national radio.
Wow.
Yeah.
You got onto national radio very, very young.
Yeah, I was 21, turning 22. I was one of the youngest people to, well, not really. Wilson was 19, I think, but for that generation of radio cohort, I was one of the youngest at the time.
So I remember that generation. At the time I was on YFM, and YFM was very silly. We used to diss Metro FM DJs, or diss other radio jocks. I mean, in such a way that I remember Fat Joe, even when he had a TV show, he would make fun of Mama Felicia, etc. And satirical comedy. And what Fat Joe brought onto South African radio and television was a breath of fresh air at the time. But obviously a lot of the ideas he would get them from America and localize them, which was quite incredible. My memories of yourself at Metro FM is, correct me if I'm wrong, I remember I used to listen to a weekend show with yourself and Thibaut Touch. I know that he's now Thibaut Touch, and he ended up hosting that show all by himself called Rhyme and Reason. But before that, you guys co-hosted together.
No.
Oh, you didn't co-host together?
No, I never co-hosted with Thibaut Touch.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so I had a show, and that's already like 5 years, if not more than 6 years into me being at Metro. So I
used to hear you with Tabo on the air.
He used to do a link from the US.
Oh, okay.
We never sat in the same studio co-hosting. So he used to do a link. So I brought him on as a contributor to my show because I met him through Zach. I co-hosted with Zach.
Oh, it was you and Zach. Yeah. That's what I wanted to say, Zach, man, not Tabo.
Not Tabo, yeah.
Because Tabo took over the Rhyme and Reason later.
Yeah. So and
it was you and Zach Dakile, yes.
So I conceptualized. Remember, Zach used to do the Ride Back Home on Voice of Soweto.
Yes.
And then he had a Kalkanai Jam session.
Zach was the coolest guy at the time. I remember.
So he had a Kalkanai Jam session, and he had a rap. Not rap activity jam is Oskido. So he had a hip hop. I just forget what was Zach's hip hop thing. So the first hip hop show on a youth radio before the emergence of YFM was Zach. So he had Pro Kid, not Pro Kid, Proverb, still studying at GP Boys or wherever he went to school, used to come to our studios at Voice of Soweto to drop tapes. Ammunition used to come there. So that's the first this is the birth of South African hip hop. We did that show on the Ride Back Home. Ride Back Home was his afternoon drive. So he had a feature on hip hop. So we'd have unsigned kids coming in every day, high school kids to rap. They would battle, So I used to read news on that show, and I was very close with Zach. So I was part of that whole thing. We'll go to League Club and all this, like Old Man, the producer, like first generation. So first generation hip hop, that's us. Yeah. Then everybody migrates to YFM. Zach doesn't go to YFM. Yeah. Then Paul goes to YFM. Then he comes up with Rap Activity Jam with Oskido. Yes, with Oskido. Yeah. But the first base of the hip hop movement radio show is us on Voice of Soweto. We were those kids. Then the YFM obviously one blows up. Zach is not on radio anymore. I'm at Metro, and Metro knows nothing and is not willing to hear anything about hip hop. It took me about 5, if not to 7 years, to convince them to do that. So that's when, at that point, Leo had come on now from YFM. He's now programs manager at some point, and then I conceptualized the unsigned hip hop show, which was 6 to 9. Firstly, I used to do Fanta Funky Town would change to Aftermath.
I remember that, yeah.
Aftermath, named after Dre's album. So I was always doing hip hop.
Yeah.
You know, Get Involved was another show that I did, which was named after another hip hop track. So, you know, the Kalkanai Jam session was obviously unsigned hip hop artists coming into the station. And prior to that, you know, the emergence of Kwaito was definitely big. So this is Voice of Soweto. So when I go to Metro, I come in before Radio Metro becomes Metro FM.
Yeah.
So that's also what separates me from a lot of like
your peers.
My peers is that a lot of people who were my age were at YFM. So they came to Metro FM when it was Metro FM.
Came in later, yeah.
So I came into Metro when it was transitioning from Radio Metro to Metro FM. So I was a test of what kind of young people who are from from that generation of new radio voices who came from a community radio where, you know, and then they moved to regional station or a youth station, then they went to Metro. Whereas I didn't go to a regional station or a youth station, I went straight national. So I went from community to commercial national. Whereas a lot of my peers went to a YFM.
Yeah, we started, I did campus and community and then regional YFM and then Metro.
Yeah, so I did a community, you know, then straight commercial.
Okay.
And then so I'm talking to the hip hop touch conversation.
Yeah.
So my relationship with Zach has been consistent throughout. He leaves radio altogether. He focuses on television. You know, obviously he sat in a very quite a different position. You know, YFM starts. YFM, the same people were bidding for YFM were in competition with the bidders for Voice of Soweto, and Voice of Soweto's bidders were his brother. So YFM had Marcel and the guys from the guy from the unions and whoever.
The guys from the union.
So who were backing them up.
They were led by who's the white guy that we all liked at YFM, not Cecil.
John, no, not John. What's his name?
He sold his shares to Abu Cecil.
Whoever the.
I forgot his name, man. He's based in
Dirk.
Dirk Hartford. We miss you, Dirk. We miss you.
Dirk, so that group.
Yeah.
So now the Voice of Soweto.
Randa also was our station manager at YFM.
Yes, he came in as a programs manager or something, or station manager at that point.
Station manager.
Then Voice of Soweto is Mpumi, and then some people, because remember it was a community station.
Yeah.
You know, so Voice of Soweto was coming from an existing community station that was going to transition to a youth station, whereas YFM came from a consortium to bidding for a license. Yeah. Two different approaches. And then he had Radio France International was doing some of our community radio training, so which means we were affiliated to some francophone conversations, and then there was some training that came in from BBC. So we had a lot of international interest. And then Richard Branson was going to back up the Voice of Soweto bid. And then Richard Branson, with a Virgin brand, they had Virgin London, I think they had Virgin Amsterdam, and then they even had Virgin New York. Because remember, they had Virgin Records. Yeah. So the idea was to have Virgin Johannesburg.
By the way, for the youngsters, Virgin Records is the one that is signed. I think Janet Jackson
at the time
was their first biggest artist.
So there was already a global interest. Yeah. So we were going to be like part of this global conglomerate of Richard Branson and whatever. So obviously the approach was different. And because of the political transition and everything that was happening in the country, this relationship made a lot of people uncomfortable politically, and then that actually influenced the bid. Because the other bid had political clout. The other one had no political clout, because Mpumi,
it was purely entrepreneurial.
It was purely entrepreneurial, and had at the time, you know, you had to be with the right white people. So we were the white people who were talking, let's make money and be commercial. Whereas this one was like, we're gonna do political education and blah, 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 blah. And you know, a lot of them had a connection they were affiliated with the union and the ANC and Radio Freedom and all of that.
I remember Marcel Golding was.
Exactly. Yeah. So Mpumi was not playing in that space, and he ripped
Mpumi Dakile.
And
shout out to the Dakile family.
Definitely.
I think it's one of the pioneer families of Soweto in business, in entrepreneurship. I think those are unsung heroes, including Zach as well in the media, because
space,
we don't really give people like Zach enough credit. Shout out to Zach Dakile. I know we stay in the same complex there in Mitre.
Oh, Nina man, Zapuminda.
Ola Zach, Panama Zapuminda.
So basically, you know, and if, you know, we were kids, you know, not a lot of people knew what was at play politically in influencing that, you know, and it shifted. So Voice literally died, then YFM emerged, you know, and me moving to Metro, you know, coming from Voice, I was the only person who came out of Voice of Soweto and went to Metro, and everybody who I worked with at Voice went to Y.
Interesting. Penny at the time was the generation of the you know, the industry till today. Like every time when there's new people, especially brand new sisters.
Yeah, girls. Oh, it's a problem.
Yo.
It's a problem.
And I'm gonna give you a chance to even speak about that, because a few weeks ago, sadly, we lost one of our radio pioneers, may soul rest in peace, an amazing brother on the microphone. He was also part of Massive Metro. He's worked for different radio stations as well, may soul rest in peace. Vugani Masinga, who went by the name Chili M. So when we were at his funeral, you know, Penny went on stage and she gave a talk. I didn't know that YFM, when they were bidding for a license, they used Chili's voice. You know, like when you're recording a pilot, they use Chili's voice as a pilot on how YFM was going to sound like if they get the license. And then I heard when you were saying at his funeral that then they get the license and then the person they used his voice, they don't hire him.
They don't give him a prime time slot.
No, they don't give him a prime time.
They give him a weekend slot.
Okay.
Like, psychologically, I believe that really messed up Chile.
And I want us to break down the history of radio and the different people, different radio stations, because I want you to break down and come with it all the way to today. I just want you to talk, because we need to lay down history and give props where props are due, because other people are not even celebrated anymore. No. Other people, it's like they were never part of this industry, etc. Whoever we remember in these conversations, it's important to shout them out because they played a significant role, you know, in us becoming the industry that we are today.
So I think obviously that changed the narrative of you know, of youth popular culture, and you know, YFM came in and became what it is, iconic in its own right, and propelled the sound of a generation with Kwaito to the next level. And mind you, being on Voice of Soweto, I mean, I did interviews with TKZ before YFM was on air, before they blew up. You know, Bongo Muffin, to a certain extent, I remember Bongo Muffin is the first artist to have played on YFM. So Bongo Muffin becomes the benchmark and the sound of what YFM brings. But prior to that, there was Mashamplan. There was TKZ with, you know, with Mdu.
There was New School, Arthur, and
there were already stuff happening. There was Toke Makinwa, there was all those people were coming in. There was Lindelani Mkhize,
there was
Sonia, there was Sinyaka.
Yeah, there was
I
remember Sony Summer Sounds.
Yes, there was all of that.
I remember those gigs when Lindelani was this guys. Lindelani from Joy Celebration. He used to be the head of Sony A&R, and he's the guy that also pumped in a lot of support for Kwaito music.
Yes,
he used to have these big gigs called the Sony Summer Sounds. And I know now we look at him as this contemporary gospel guy. But
he's a music pioneer.
He was the coolest guy in the
He still is,
And shout out to the Grootman, sure.
So him, you know, the guys at Gallo Records, you know, guys at EMI, Sipho Dlamini at CCP. Actually, I got Romeo's direct number at CCP's wall, because remember
CCP, they were in Steeldale.
Not before they went to Steeldale. They were at the Carlton Center. They were at the Carlton Center.
I remember when they were in town as
well. Before
they
went to
I was still a student. I used to go there when I was a high school student.
So that's when I was working at Voice. So they would have numbers for DJs and people and stations and contact numbers. So I got Metro FM's contact numbers on the wall, because they would post that. Phone number, contact number, fax number and whatever, and people's stations.
Yo, guys, we're from faxes.
Yes.
I remember Studio Mix Melanie's Bob Mapena in an orange or purple jacket. Don't sing a fax there. While Melanie said is presenting on the camera, don't sing a fax there. Guys, we're from faxes. Yo, by 2000 and we're like, I'm 90 years.
So faxes is what you needed before y'all had emails. That's how we used to transmit information. Very focused. So that's what's happening with community and youth commercial station. Then KFM is coming up, and then SABC
KFM was known as that station for Abanda Batale. Remember?
Yeah.
We looked at it as boring.
Yeah.
It's only now I'm like, wow, KFM actually was so cool and groundbreaking because they were pushing this Afropolitan they did it then.
Yeah.
And
I think they even shifted to how strong they were doing it. Actually, I wanted to work for Kaya FM than Metro FM.
Yeah.
Because already
they were contemporary station. Shout out to the Grootman, Mr. Lucky, not Lucky Dube. What's his name again? He presented Toyota Top 20 at some point. Lawrence Dube.
Now he goes by a different name. That generation. And then Pat Dame was the station manager. So I applied to actually work for Kaya FM.
Okay.
And then they said to me, all your peers are at YFM. And I was like, I need lap. I need Mina lap. They had Yuma Sekela and Sbongile Kumalo on air. They were serious. They're giving careers their producer.
Yeah, but it was still a producer at the time. I remember at some point he also went overseas.
Yes, he was.
And I remember when Biggie and Pac died, he was a... What Tibo Touch was to your
me
show
is what Given was
to Glenn Lewis.
To Bob Mabena.
Actually, to Glenn Lewis and Bob Mabena. I don't know who left the other.
So he was with Bob with Tupac. He was with Bob. Well, it was Tupac with Bob. I think it was Glenn with Biggie. But I know it was Bob.
Yes.
Yeah, I know it was Bob. So already, when I was at Voice, I already knew Glenn. I knew Robert Marawa. I knew the industry people. I knew Linda Lani. I met Linda Lani when I had entered Miss Soweto.
Robert Marawa at that time was dating this beautiful...
Hey, you get
the whole school wanted her. Remember Gareth Brown? Wherever she is, shout outs to Gareth Brown. But I need to, this is history. We need to give the new generation history.
This guy.
This is where the industry comes from.
Okay.
Let's break it down for them.
Okay, we're breaking it down.
I think it's going to be one of the most interesting podcasts because they're hearing history.
I'm a history teacher.
I like that because I liked when you were speaking at Chili's funeral and I was like, wow, this is what young people need to hear.
History teacher. So basically, that's how the whole thing emerges. So there's Betram's and Yeovil. I lived in Yeovil. So I hanged out with people from YFM, but I work at Metro FM. And the people
that's what made you cool.
Yeah, it made me cool, but it also made me at easy target.
But there was that thing as well. I think a lot of people were jealous of you.
Well, I didn't
you were at
know.
Metro.
Yeah,
some of us wanted to be on Metro. We're like, hey, Lebyane was at Metro.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know.
I have no concept of people being threatened or people being jealous of you.
Yeah.
That was
which is very normal.
In
the entertainment industry.
So I didn't think that Sbu would be jealous of me. Like I'm not saying you. I'm making an example. I'm making an example. So basically, then I'm at Metro. I interact with a lot of YFMers, but
you try and get onto Kaya.
Before I got to Metro, I was trying to get onto Kaya. And then when the Kaya thing didn't work out, I totally said, okay, I'm gonna go to Metro. Anyway, that was my first base because I thought you need to go original. But out of the original stations that were there, Kaya and Metro, Kaya and Y, I was not going to YFM. I was like, I'm not going to YFM. I'm going straight. I'm gonna go to Metro. But if I have to, I'll go to Kaya, and then I'll graduate from there. So obviously, I get to Metro 8 years down the line. That's when eventually they buy into the hip hop concept because already I was part of the generation that built Kwaito on radio and celebrated it. I used to hang out with Dineo, who is Tokolo's sister and worked at Sony.
She worked at Sony.
Yes, she worked at Sony. I used to hang out with Busi, who was Christos's wife. So I was in the thick of the birth of culture. So I was around all these cool people. But then at the same time, working at Metro, I'm hanging out with Romeo Kumalo, people like Dr. Kumalo, the national ones. So I'm a hybrid. I'm fitting into both worlds. I fit into the new, young, and cool. But I'm fitting it into the exclusive, highly celebrated, I'm the new kid on the block and
Let
whatever.
me say this quickly, hustlers out there. Guys, as a hustler, you gotta be fluid. You can't just be rigid and just think, this is my approach and this is how I'm gonna do it and that's just my way or the highway. That's not gonna work for you because in this world, things happen according to how God plans them and at His time, not at our time.
Nope.
So things might not go your way in how you plan them or you might not achieve whatever you set out to achieve at that age or whenever. But you gotta be fluid. Don't change the vision stays the same. But just be like her. Even the timing, just be fluid, be able to
adjust to fit in
with situations and fit
flow
in. And then because who you hang around with, you become who you hang around with basically. Those types of even the timing, man. So these conversations I hope would they help in shaping your hustle. So I'm just basically taking one from what she's saying and I'm like, hey, I've moved like her as well. I've always just Ngiya-check ukuthi ngibloma nabo bani, and then bloma nalezi, and then nini sondeza kulezi bloma nalezi. Do you know what I mean? Because you are trying to get up the ladder.
That's true. So, and also, I mean, the experience of like, when I got into Miss Soweto, I got to meet a lot of like the radio Bob jocks. I met George Manyosi, Obendiko, Otich Matez,
He passed on. Who also passed on, he was at Metro at some point.
Evidence.
No. May his soul rest in peace as well, Evidence. But who's our brother?
Eddie Zondi.
No, not Eddie Zondi. May his soul rest in peace as well. Sekhale Mokhotsi.
Yeah. So I met that generation of broadcasters already, and then already I was exposed to that, Zandi Lenzalo, before I got to Metro. So I'm meeting them, and at that time, Zandi Lenzalo, when I meet her, she's already from radio. She's already at Channel O. So already my world is radio.
Channel O is starting.
Yeah.
There's cool kids. Abo Mbuso Tabete. Abo Christopher Bongo.
All of that. Abo Tim Harewood. So So all of them.
Shout out to my brother Tim. Guys.
So that's the space.
This is too big, guys. We're gonna finish the whole day. I get excited. Okay, continue.
So I'm that girl in that space, but I moved from Voice of Soweto, and then I get to national prominence on Metro. So obviously for me it's an exciting time because I get to be cool and hang out with my peers, but then I get to be exposed to like even more influential people, the Wendy Luhabes to the Lutulus, Pel Lutulis, to the Felicia Mabuza.
By the way, that's my aunt, eh?
Is it? Who?
Yes, Pel Lutul.
Is it?
Lutuli, yes.
Oh, that's nice. I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
My aunt.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to tell her about it in this interview.
So then I meet such kind of people. Remember, I've always been a consumer of media. So these are people who I used to see in the City Press, people I used to see in Tribute magazine, and then me getting to Metro, I start writing for City Press. I am on the cover of True Love and Drum. So the people who've had an impact and influence on my life, now I get to live in the same world with them. But then I'm in envy of my peers without even me knowing, which is the Y generation and all of that. And that's you guys. You're problematic.
Guys, I'm even chulugi, like
I'm making you sweat.
I'm just excited because the things we're talking about, they're never usually spoken about until somebody dies or whatever.
I don't want to. I hate that whole thing. I hated the whole thing of like we celebrate people and talk about how great they are when they're dead. I never want people to do that with me. And you know what? I'm also realize I came from a generation where we don't hype ourselves up. And in which I don't really say, go ahead, do it. But I tell my story authentically so that nobody can tell my story and remix it and edit it out and say what they like. But also I had friends who were like journalists. My friends were writing for City Press or Sowetan. So I'm part of the popular culture emergence. I live in Yeovil. I'm seeing the activists, who are at YFM. Yes, those are my buddies. Yes, we're there. Tando, I'm there. I'm in there. Rocky Street. I'm in the mix. So I'm part of that world.
And then TV.
Yeah. Then when I was a kid, I wanted to be an actress. I went to a lot of auditions as an actress, and then when I lived in Bushbuck Ridge in primary school, I used to do a lot of school dramas and all that stuff. So when I came to Soweto, I tried to join like an agency, and I would go for classes. Nothing really came out of it. And then radio became my thing. So then I focused my energy on radio, and then I started auditioning for TV when I was doing radio. And as God would have it, the week that I started on Metro, I think the same week I got my first TV gig. So literally my arrival to national prominence was like a double whammy. So I'm this kid on late night radio on Metro. Everyone is talking about that. Then SABC 1 gives me a show.
Wow.
And I auditioned for both. I sent a demo tape. I sent a CV to Metro FM. I hustled. I harassed Romeo. Eventually, they called me. They gave me a job. And then Times Media Limited, which I think now is Tisa.
They were in Rosebank at the time.
They were in Rosebank.
I think they were also part of Gallo was part of that.
Yeah, so they were producing Sprite Rush Hour.
Oh, you remember Sprite Rush Hour?
Yeah, but
DJ Mpolo.
There's Fred Joe. So they were auditioning for Sprite Rush Hour. They were auditioning for Sprite Rush Hour. They were auditioning for Elegance is one of the shows that we're doing. So they're doing a fashion program with Dion Chang. Dion Chang, Flux Trends. So Dion Chang, Yeah.
I don't want to call him an influencer, like a fashion, not just an enthusiast.
He's a
amazing.
So
fashion
Dion
guy.
Chang is Dion Chang. He's basically
he's in a class of his own.
He's in a class of his own.
So think Randall Abrams meets.
Not even.
But Randall Kogaga.
Not even. No.
Not even.
Not even.
We are Dion Chang.
Think who? What's that Andre guy? Andre, that Vogue guy.
Yes.
So at some point he was a chief editor-in-chief for Elle magazine. That's why I'm saying not even Randall. He was a chief editor of Elle magazine. Sorry, I mean Randall is Randall. So So basically he's so impactful and influential in the story of South African fashion. He's coached almost all fashion designers that you can think of. He sat on the board of South African Fashion Week. Him and Lucille Boysens, they're pioneers of a lot of things. He's worked for Elle Magazine, which is an international publication. So he hosts that show. So Elle Magazine, with Times Media Limited, which is now Tiso Blackstar, get into a partnership to produce a TV show out of the magazine. So it's fashion, lifestyle. So it's food, fashion, meets music, meets culture, meets travel. So they had Noma Kwezi, who comes from Swaziland, was the host for the show. First season, she was a model. She's already in the fashion industry. And then I think she got married and had a baby. And then she couldn't continue with the show. So they're looking for a new host. So they do a street open call. So the production company is auditioning for Sprite Rush Hour, and they're auditioning for Elegance. So I go to the audition and I audition for either of the show because I can either do music or I can do fashion. I mean, already at that time, being on Voice, I was wearing a turban already. So before Erica Badu dropped,
that's how you became famous. She became famous for wearing a matu. Actually, she made a matu.
I made a matu famous. So
and then
Erica Badu drops an album, blows up.
Everybody calls me. She copied from Erica Badu. I'm like, we call her.
I'm like, what the heck?
You see the Mom Winnie Mayeso rest in peace thing that you guys are doing now today? Penny did it then, like 20 years ago.
25 years ago. So I wear the turban. Erica Badu. I mean, I even did an article in Drum. Yeah, I even did an article in Drum teaching people how to wear a wrap, and they featured me, and they called it Baduism. Yeah. So Erica Badu drops an album. Everybody calls me that Baduism girl. I'm like, honestly, people, where have you been? But obviously, I get on Metro, and then so when they audition for that, so I get the job. So the first Friday, I'm going on air on Metro FM late night. I'm also my TV.
How did it feel? Because now I remember how I felt like to be for the first time being on radio and on TV.
Yeah.
Do you know how great it felt like wow, this is what I've been dreaming about all these years. How did it feel for you?
So I didn't even dream about it. I was just working. I was glad that I got the job. I didn't understand the magnificence of it. Even the Metro gig, I remember Romeo doing interviewing me in one of the first meetings and saying to me, "You're gonna work for Metro FM. Do you know what a big deal this is?" I was like, what is, like, I don't know, like, what do you mean? I just want to work. And then I remember saying, how are you gonna deal with the boys? I didn't know what that meant. I had no understanding of what he was talking about. So I was like a kid in a candy shop minding my own business, and I'm, in hindsight, I'm glad that I was naive about it, but I'm also like, oh, I wish I knew. Then I could have carried myself in a particular way because I was so free, so open, so naive, and anything could get to me.
And there was no social media at the time.
But I was on the, so also when the tabloid started, I became tabloid fooder because I was not walking around gutting my life.
Tabloids, guys, yeah. You know what they did to us?
So I became, so the same thing that
Produce it, Lamin, and page, whoever you are.
You remember that guy? You remember that guy? Do you know I slept
by the way, for those who don't know, it's the guy who was slept by Arthur. You also slept him.
Yes.
You lie.
Yes, I also slept him.
And then Mr. Charles Mulela, you started this
Yes.
With your Swashi situation.
Yeah.
And then him to do this, he came. He destroyed many lives, that man. But anyway, I wish him all the best wherever he is.
So I used to write for City Press, obviously. so I'm doing 360 media at the time. I'm doing conversions. I'm writing for City Press. I'm on television and I'm on radio. And then I'm in public relationships.
That's a hustler.
That's like...
You see, this industry, what you guys see is, you see the glitz and glam and the red carpets. Guys, it's not like that. You don't see the hard work.
It's hard work.
All the people that you guys look up to, they are workhorses.
Yeah.
Maya Sebens and Abantu guys. Because you gotta do this shoot there, gotta do this interview there, you gotta go be on radio there, you gotta like people like Abo Bonang, like all these people that you think it takes a lot of work to.
But it's even better for this generation because then people have 50,000 people helping them, which is something that they have assistants, publicists, they have script writers. I'm like, wow,
we used to do all of that.
I'm like,
one person needs to do all of that.
But anyway, so basically that's me arriving at Metro. So for me it was like, wow, I'm doing this, I'm doing what I love, I'm enjoying myself. And it's great.
And you excelled with television because you're still doing TV till today.
So, yes, I'm still doing TV today. So, but I fell in love with radio. Radio is really my first love. It's what I love doing. It's what I enjoy. It's my theater for an actor. It's where I fine tune my craft. It's where my creative juices flow. TV, I love TV, but it's too controlling. And then also
too limiting.
And also there's too many. There's too many rules. And then you must. TV taught me to let go. Radio, I'm in control. I feel like I'm in control. Well, obviously, if I work with people with the same beat and energy, then they can fit in. Because in radio, because you did everything. I would produce the content myself. I would script myself.
Guys, do you know that?
Yeah.
Did you just said you used to produce
drive the
yourself?
desk. Yeah, drive the desk. Research myself. Drive the content. Everything take calls myself. Edit myself. You do the segues myself. Then maybe sometimes
do the show yourself. Sometimes read the news
myself. Yeah, so I did everything myself. Yeah, so I would be. So that helped me to be multifaceted, to be multidimensional, as well. But it also drives you over the edge because you want everything to be perfect. Yeah. So that's really the nutshell of like how I got into Metro initially.
But I want to know as well, like how does one maintain a career in the entertainment industry and still be? A lot of people have come and gone. I always say to people, I always pray, I'm blessed to still be doing this thing till today. Because I do know of a lot of my peers who have come and gone. And sadly for them, but we're still here. How do you do that? A lot of people want to know, how do you maintain?
So my commitment to what I do in broadcasting from day one, I said to myself, I'm going to do it for the rest of my life. And when I said it at the time, I didn't know. And I remember having a conversation with Zach saying, what's this thing of people having a plan B? You must have people, because I was like, because remember, he didn't, after community radio, he never went to commercial or any other thing. He just, until the time when I was trying to bring him into Metro.
He was just hustling entrepreneurship.
Yeah. So when I was trying to bring him into Metro during the hip hop show, which I was actually telling you about. So I conceptualized the hip hop show before I answer this question about how I stay relevant. Yeah. So I conceptualized the hip hop show, and then I brought in Zach. And I knew that Zach will help me build hip-hop the way we were able to build with Kwaito. Because like any genre or anything, it needs influencers and voices of that thing. Like right now, what you do with entrepreneurship is like, you need someone who's very passionate about that thing, who will go speak to the entrepreneur and understand their beat, their frustration, and conversate that to the general public and help other entrepreneurs learn from that. So same thing with music. So we were able to do that with hip hop. With Kwaito, what do you mean? If you go to the concerts, you'll see the artists performing at their best. You will know their personal experiences. You'll know what the challenges they're having with the record companies. But you need to be there. If there's a new artist, you're not gonna discover the new artist when they give you a CD. You will know that we all need to look out for Mendoza. He's the hottest guy. By the time he drops the album, you've already seen them at some club or some concert. That's the kind of radio personality I was for Kwaito. And I knew that hip hop, to propel to what it was, needed to do, to go through the same thing. So I conceptualized the hip hop show, convinced management to have the show. Then we had a segment called Unsigned. Then Osi Postole, Vusilio were all listening in, and they had all these new kids who were coming in. Because the only other place where they would hear was on Y. But it was the kids who were in Durban and Cape Town.
By the way, guys, YFM has always been a regional station.
It's a regional station. There was Bush FM in Cape Town who were doing that. But how did we connect the hip hop heads in KZN all over the country? So when we created that show, we were able to create the hip hop heads from all over the country. We said to a kid in Polokwane, you can also do it. So the kids from Soweto and everywhere else came in. And then the record labels then bought into that, and then hip hop literally blew up. So I just had my son, that's 2005. So I have my son, and I'm like, I'm not going to be able to commit to this whole thing fully, because you must be at the clubs. You must hang out at the parties. You must know who is hot and who's not and whatever. And I've just had a baby, and my life is in transition to something. So if Zach comes on and takes over the show, all good and well. Then Zach had already brought in touch, doing the phoners from New York, and we're talking about LeBron James has been signed as the hottest hip hop artist. Oh my God, you gotta talk to Angie Ma from Hot 97. That's Touch on the phone, calling me at 3 a.m., making noise on my phone, and my baby daddy thinking, when I know Touch Nens on the phone in 3 saying, yeah, the hip hop yako. I'm not gonna have a wife who's like that. And then I'm like, okay, this hip hop thing is gonna be problematic for my relationship. So I bring Zach in to take over, and then Zach and Touch get into their own agreement. Before you know it, Zach is out, Touch is in. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened, but that's how it happened. Then I'm out. Then they continue with that, Then talking about the relevance stuff.
Yes.
So it's about being on the beat of popular culture and understanding where things are. But I've come to know and accept that I am a woman of transition. When things are transitioning, I am the best soldier to send on the job. When new ideas are being birthed, I get things before people get them. What do I mean? I got into community radio as a kid, and the concept of community, nobody was listening to us as young people. They were not interested, but we could broadcast.
They called us the lost generation.
They called us the lost generation.
I remember.
Yeah. So we went in there, and we could break down content about music and our issues in the communities. And we were young, and they couldn't believe that as lost as they thought we were. And by the way, a lost generation is a generation that comes of age during a transition. It's actually not.
Because you figure yourself out.
You figure yourself out. So what it means is that the government knows that we have these kids who are coming of age, but the issues of the country were so important. They didn't really, we were not in the manifesto. They didn't say the youth will get NSFAS. They were like, we need to build houses. We need to feed people. And then we were like, what must happen to us?
We had to figure it out.
And then at the time they say, oh, there's MS-DOS.
We didn't have mentors. We didn't know how to control a computer.
Yeah, we were going to classes. There was no internet. We were going to,
You remember being on air, and then listeners are sending emails. Like what you guys get now, like social media while you're on air.
Faxes.
They'd be like, your faxes. Like emails. You'd be reading like listeners' emails.
Yeah, so you have to go to the office, print out the emails, go with them to the studio.
Like as if it's tweets, when you
yes.
Tweet, but it's emails. Yeah. They must be printed, they must be read on air.
Yeah. So in that transitioning space, I realized that that's what my natural flow and positioning as a broadcaster is. So when radio was transitioning from African language stations and the categorization of where we came from as a country, and then the new voices that to emerge, I was part of the generation. And then to benchmark from being regional to commercial stations. So when Metro was transitioning from Radio Metro to Metro FM, I was there for the final lap to carry over to the new generation. So I carried over that. So when women people were not ready of hearing women being bold and whatever on air, I was part of the generation of young women who says, you're not going to let me. So I'm part of a generation of women, firstly of broadcasters who broadcast freely after freedom. Because there's a difference. Radio is the most freeing medium, right? But a lot of broadcasters who started before democracy didn't know what it's like to be a broadcaster in a free country. I know that. And that's an edge. If the guys who did that, they had to deal with the rules. So we were the rule breakers, after democracy, and then our level of freedom is different from theirs.
Who's your inspiration?
Look, there's a lot of people.
Let me say who was inspiring you then and then right now.
So,
because I always say to people, definitely Bob Mabena.
Yeah.
Bob Mabena is high there on the list.
Yeah.
And obviously Fresh was my inspiration as well when I was getting into the industry.
Yeah.
Bob Mabena, Kaya Cool, I liked him.
Yeah. Where's Kaya Cool?
May soul rest in peace. I don't know his Kaya Cool, eh? He was this guy on Radio Pop, guys. He was one of the coolest radio
that's
jocks
why he was called Kaya Cool.
Yeah, he was a cool guy.
So definitely, Zani Lenzalo sits in my my top list. Firstly, for being groundbreaking. This is a girl who.
So mention 5.
So I'm going to start with Zan. So Zan.
Let me throw in Given Mkari there as well.
Okay.
One of my inspirations.
I went back here.
So you go ahead. Yeah. So, let's hear your pitch.
Yeah. So Zan sits on my list. She's a girl coming out of Swaziland, barely out of her teens, like 17, 18. She gets on a truck and goes to Botswana. To Mabatu. In Mabatu to get on radio. Maftown. So do you know that Bob Mabena found Zen already on radio?
Oh wow!
Yes.
I didn't know.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Actually, I think she showed him the desk.
Wow.
Yeah, when he first got his radio gig.
And they went on to become an amazing couple.
Yeah.
Sure. But that's the past.
So she's one of my inspirations. Firstly, for her courage and the tenacity of being a girl who believed in herself enough. And she already been on TV, Swazi TV at the time. So she comes to Mabatu, she gets on radio, and then she sits on a lineup. If there were 10 guys, she was the only girl at the time.
Yeah, and patriarchy was rife at the time.
Right at the time. Then then the other girls are there, and then there's this Shero Twala.
Oh wow, yeah, Mamshe.
Yeah, so who benchmark
Twala's mother?
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, who benchmark being an impactful broadcaster about specific content. When you think Shero Twala, you think you think jazz, you think the culture of jazz and artistry and culture. So she became an advocate for that, and then the other women followed suit on that. And then also Zan also went for 702. She went on 702, which is like predominantly white station, young women at the time, late at night, taking calls, tackling very difficult conversations. That's secondly, and then went on to pioneer what is Channel O, which gave birth.
Yes.
So she was the first GM. They literally
and Channel O was the first guys to pioneer or champion what we call
Pan-Africanism.
Pan-Africanism
through music.
Now.
Well, through music. Pan-Africanism was already always existed. For youth culture. So she's the first generation of doing that. And then there is people like Max Mojapilu on Thobela FM.
Oh yes.
Who is a man who is in radio there's shock jocks, there's motor mouths, there's talk show hosts. So he's the fast talking ones who flow like Kansas. So in Zulu, Ukozi is a Max.
Kansas,
On Thobela you had Max. So he's the Max of Ukozi.
Okay.
So
of
Thobela.
Yeah.
Then Umhlobo, they had another guy. You can throw in there. So because of my culture, that's who I was exposed to. So he would do shows like the top 20. So I knew that you have to have a rhythm.
Number
one. That's the guy. And then when he breaks it down, he'll be like, Muteleki, number 10. Are ke moshimane wa go sasanka wa go tswa ka Soweto. Ka bua ka Arthur. Ka kosha ya gago ya go fisha. That time you're like, Jesus, man, this guy's in control. So Max sits in that space. And then who else is in that space? And then I heard like women like Malindi Gantu. This is Mangantulu. So this is before. So this is before Lady Tukoza, who is
yes. So she was the original Mamlady. Mamlady knows we love you, Mama.
So she would say,
That was radio.
Yeah. So so for me, that generation was creative. They had flow. They had swag without trying to have swag. And then they didn't have much
because they were not getting paid as much as you guys are getting paid now.
So then I watched I watched Lawrence Duba on television with Neil Johnson doing the Toyota Top 20. Oh, guys!
Remember 0 hours?
Yeah, 0 hours. So then then I look at like Lawrence Duba and because it was always television and radio.
And by the way, I didn't know that Lawrence Duba was one of the founders of Kai FM.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was blessed enough to be at his farewell when he sold his shares, and they were doing a farewell party for him at Kai FM. So I was one of the DJs I was playing. It was at Monte Casino, I think. This is like maybe 10 years ago or something. But it was great because when I heard the story there, he was one of the earliest founders. And he sold his shares, I don't know, for a couple of millions there. And I was like, wow, I didn't know that. Dr. Lawrence too was also a shareholder.
Yeah, a lot of the shareholders who sat on Kaya and YFM all sold their shares.
Yes.
I wish they didn't. Oh, I wish they didn't.
I
wish they also called us, the young ones, and say, would you be interested?
Do you know what I mean?
Like, now they sold the shares. Now some of the people who sit there don't care about radio.
Do you know what I mean?
Like, I'm just like, couldn't they just call us into a meeting and say, guys,
you know what I mean?
Look, I don't want these shares anymore, but can you guys...
it came together or something. Because I remember we had a plan like that, Nabo Fresh, when we left YFM.
Oh, guys.
Myself, Beppo E.T. at the time, Thomas Msengana, DJ Fresh, a couple of us, about 5 or 6 of us. Ukhalik nomasel basitshela ukuthi sami sojampela la. Then the rest shit. Yeah, it couldn't happen. But we were like, we're just taking chances.
No, but it's a chance that they should have given you, and it's a chance that they should have encouraged. It's a chance that you guys can still take right now.
And I totally agree.
Yeah, it's a chance that can still be done. I don't think because YFM is not what YFM should have been and should continue to be.
But then again, YFM speaks to younger people that you and I are no longer the target market.
No, but even if we're no longer the target, we still have influence on that, guys. I always say, Jay-Z is 50, we all buy his albums. Diddy's 50, we all listen to, he influences us. What is this thing of us thinking when we get to a certain age we have no influence? The reason why we think our kids are not informed about certain things is because we leave the gap wide open. Who are we leaving it for? Who are we leaving it for?
And broadcasting is actually very important.
Broadcasting is versatile. Entertainment, it's multi-generational.
Talking about that now, radio and television, let me just say multimedia has evolved so much that radio is no longer what it used to be. Television is no longer what it used to be. We are living in the time of now. In 2020, radio/television media or multimedia, your take?
It's evolving. It's going through a transition, but it's not where we all thinking it should be. It's operating. You see, because we're all exposed to global media, we are the evolution of radio and television. If we use the American standards, we are 30 years behind. And we sit here as broadcasters and owners of media wanting to operate at where Americans operate. We want to jump off. Technology is going to help us, it's going to propel us to the next level, but our next level is not where America is because the rest of our population is not there. So our medium still needs the same attention and commitment that is required. Majority of the population of this country still listen to their radio by tuning in. They still watch their content on television. Whether me and you, we are on Netflix, and whether me and you are listening on our phone. So we have an opportunity to tap into what is coming up, but we can't ignore and force the rest of the population to be here because they're not there.
You have to bring them along.
We have to bring them along. Because we live on Twitter, and which is minus 5% of the population. We think the rest of the country is there.
By the way, guys, I love what you just said.
No, guys.
I always say this to marketers. I'm a marketer. I mean, you guys know I've been marketing this drink forever. And people are like, your drink is big all over the country. I'm like, no. It hasn't even scratched the surface. I know it looks big on social media, but guess what, guys? It's even less than 5% of the population that is on social media.
So we need...
So guys, Twitter and social media is not South Africa.
It's not South Africa. And same thing with radio. Programmers can sit on radio and say, or newspapers and magazines and say, there's no future. It's all dying. You need to be innovative to remember how to be in touch with the global trends without losing touch with what locally is happening and what is relevant to the people. There's people who've never heard of Morfire. There's people who've never heard of Massive Metro. There's people who who still don't have access to Metro FM, which is the biggest nationwide station in the country. Commercial station in the country.
Biggest is
Yes, commercial station. And because there's people who the Metro FM frequency still doesn't reach. 2000 has got a bigger frequency in the country.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
You guys know that?
Yeah. So you need to, and for people, that's why I say I shoot from the hip, but my hip is loaded. And this thing of, if you know your story, you know your story. If you don't like me, that's fine. But don't scratch off the information that I'm telling you. It's a fact. There are young people who are not exposed to the things that me and you are exposed to. And we're going to leave them because we're on our phones. No. So we can still do a kick-ass empowering, informative, entertaining radio show on Metro FM, 5FM, and take it seriously. You can't be telling us about what's happening on Twitter for you and your minus 5% friends. Because that's not content. Do you know what I mean? You know, there's a kid who is sitting in the middle of Bushbuck Ridge who still wants to know the basics of presenting myself, empowerment, the importance of black identity, whatever. If you're going to tell us how nice it was in Cape Town this weekend, this kid is confused.
When we make those mistakes there. Which brings me to the question right now. Social media and its importance on brand building right now. And I know we've just spoken about multimedia. And we've just spoken about how we forget that social media is not all, you know, it's not the country, guys.
No, it's not.
But it influences now also how the owners or the people that hire new talent hire. It's like now they're hiring people off of our social media,
sheer laziness,
etc., which I believe it dilutes the real talent that is supposed to be on air or on screen, etc.
It's sheer laziness. It's a cop-out. It's a lack of responsibility. It's people living in a fish pond called Johannesburg. Social media is just another media platform. Just like newspaper is another media platform. Just like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter is another platform. Just like TV is another platform. You know. And then we are in a space of multimedia. Is that whatever brand you have, you know, your brand must have multiple prints to work in all of those spaces, conversions. And you can't even take for granted standing in front of an audience. You know, there's people who are on TV, when they stand in front of people are like, Kimango.
Yeah, I know. And Bona, they think they've arrived. And they've got like 100,000 followers.
Excuse me, don't know them. They don't know them. And you know what I mean? That's a reality of it. You know, when I do shows, I work with Moja Love right now. You know, and I say to people, don't judge my work based on what people say on Twitter. You know, when I walk into an airport, I walk to checkers, I go into churches, I go to schools, the people who stop me and have conversation with me about the content, the kids who respond to that. Now, so if I sit with marketers, you can't base my contribution based on social media. Then you're missing the point. You know, go in and engage. And marketers who sit in Sandton, you know, one of the reasons why 9.7 is big is because the buyers sit in Sandton and all their channels are tuned in on 947.
And the bosses
are tuning in.
Even the garages.
And then they're a Johannesburg station, whereas there's a whole country. Your product is not a Johannesburg product. It's a South African product. And we have to come to a place of holding brand media buyers and brand owners that stop disrespecting us as a country.
I hope you guys are listening, and I'm talking about all the hustlers that I retweet on Saturdays, all you brand owners, company owners, all of you guys with your products. I understand it's essential to use social media and pump your products and business and brands as much as you can, but that's not the whole country. You still need to go out there in the streets. You still need to be visible out there. You still need to get your product, your business, your brand out there. Don't just rely on those little buttons. Now, talking about social media, we found a lot of... we've been speaking.
Yeah, we have.
Okay, I'm gonna let you go. Just 3 more questions.
No, it's fine. I'm good. Yeah.
And I have to be on radio as well.
Yeah.
With all of this social media frenzy that's going on all over the world, then you've got young people who don't have anything, but whenever a chance they get online, they see other young people or other people who are bragging about their success and their material success. Even some of them are lying. But then it leads a lot of them to depression. Now, I didn't know, I just found out a little bit earlier today, as one of the team members was saying to me, when they were doing research, I think you went through that stage as well at some point. And I do know that was a conversation that the country had prior to WHP passing on. And then we're like, no, now he's fine, he's fine. And then the next thing we heard months later that he's passed on. But now what we want to know is, if it is true that you went through it, how did you conquer it and how did you overcome depression? And what can you say to the kids out there who are going through such?
So I'm an advocate for mental wellness. I work with the South African Depression and Anxiety Group.
Thank you for mentioning. I didn't know. I just found out today.
So I've been working with them my son is 14. When I had my son, 4 days after I had my son, I had a breakdown. I was admitted to hospital for 10 days. 10 days that changed my life. And that's how I approached SEDEC and became an advocate for it. Prior to that, through my content, my work is, I'm an educator through my work. I believe in information is knowledge, information is power. I'm that kind of broadcaster. When I come on air, I come on with content because I want to change the way you think, and I want to expose you to knowledge about things, and I want to question things so you can apply yourself to that thing and make a decision for yourself on any topic. So I believe through all those experiences, you people teasing me there at YFM, calling me names, people writing about me in the newspapers, finding myself attacked left, right, and center, not knowing whether to keep my hip hop show or to work on the relationship, doubting myself, having things, falling apart publicly, having been raised to have a voice and express myself, and then some guy telling me, no, you have no tact, you can't be my girlfriend, you're like this. All of that got me to be clinically depressed. But I was not diagnosed properly, because when I was dealing with things, I went to therapy. I didn't go consult a psychologist and then they put me on medication. All of those things together created a chemical imbalance of some sort. So I would be very anxious when I go on air. Sometimes I'll speak very fast and then I'll snap easily. I slept people, like I slept whatever, because I slept Tutu Dlamini. I had girls saying nonsense about me in the bathroom.
Tutu Dlamini, for those days, for those days, but for those days,
but all of that stuff, when you're in a space and you see yourself as someone who's doing something positive and you're constantly attacked left and right and center, a bit of you dies slowly and you start questioning yourself, and then self-doubt and low self-esteem and everything else. Because here you are, you're supposed to be
you keep going deeper into that rabbit hole.
Into that rabbit hole. But because you're in the public eye, your job is to keep appearances. So you're operating, that's where the imbalance comes from. Yeah. So, but now the beauty of children, and which is something that men will never experience, is when you're carrying the babies are the most selfish people. They come in you, they take what is in you. So they take the iron, they take all the nutrients in you, and then you're fine, in them, it's exciting, you're eating healthy, you're exercising, whatever. The minute they come out of your body, they leave you with your nonsense. They say, deal with yourself. Yeah. So as you transition to that motherhood, there's what is called the baby blues. Most women experience this at a minimum. So I experienced it at a extreme level. I had what you call puerperal psychosis, where I'm thinking, oh my God, everyone thinks I'm a mess. I'm going to mess up raising this baby. Anything can go wrong now. Okay, fine. All right, this job, career thing is not working. I need to be back at work, as soon as possible.
So those negative voices.
So all those voices are consistent in your head. So and then before you know it, I want everything to be in control. Then I snap. Then I'm in hospital for 10 days. Then they decide, we need to put you on medication, we need to calm you down, we need to get a balance. And then I know, I need to breastfeed, breastfeeding is good for the child, and all of those stuff. So 10 days of that, and then I realized, I have depression. It's anxiety, extreme, or depression. And also when we think depression, people think, you become sad and angry. There are those who are doing everything to look like they're okay. So there's a flight or fight, then there's the dark hole. So we're not, it's all about balancing your life. It's about eating healthy, sleeping, taking care of yourself, processing your thought, dealing with issues and all. So I went into therapy during that time, spoke to a psychologist at the hospital. But before then I had gone through therapy when I went through one of the public relationships, because my behavior was changing. I was snapping at people, I was getting angry, I was forever. So famous relationships.
I'm also from there.
So I was dealing with that, and then I had to put this face publicly, but I'm falling apart, and then when I was in therapy and I realized how all this thing is affecting me, and then I got out of that situation, then started to say, this is me, let me work on myself. It's a process that you go through. Then obviously the baby triggered that, and then that's when I realized, okay, I was clinically depressed, but I never dealt with it. So now what am I going to do? I have to change my lifestyle. I have to watch what I eat. I have to, create boundaries. My nose must be my nose. My yes must be my yes.
You need to learn to say no. Hustlers out there, you need to learn to say no.
Yeah.
Sometimes you become so nice that you become saying yes to everyone.
You become a people pleaser.
And then you're messing up yourself. Yes, I'm from there as well.
You become a people pleaser. Yeah. You're trying to please everyone. You want everybody to like you. You're selling yourself and your soul short. So I had to work through all of that. And then I gave up. I lost a lot of things and I gave up a lot of things. Like, same thing, when I said I can't commit to the hip hop show, I knew I can't commit to it. And then I was like, let me make a choice like any other girl who's 28 and 29 years old and work on a relationship, because I've had a public relationship failing. I'm not having another one. And it didn't work again. Do you know what I mean? So I have to, and then me, I'm not a person who's gonna blame everyone. I'm gonna work on it.
And I know what you're talking about. From You're famous. You just dated somebody famous. And you're like, I don't want to date industry people
more. And then you go to someone else.
And then it still doesn't work. I'm also from there.
Yes, and then you're like, the problem must be.
Let me just go focus on me because I'm the problem.
I'm the problem. And then you realize, no, I'm not the problem. That's their stuff that they brought into me. And then you know what I mean. You have to deal with that. So I did all of that, and then I was like, I always say, Rihanna says, my life, your entertainment, my life, your education. So I'm committed to what I do, that my experiences become part of what my listeners and people who follow my life have to know, especially young women. I speak truthfully and honestly because I want them to know they can do what they want with the information. It's very important. So I share from that. So that's why I became an ambassador. And how have I dealt with my depression? I was very adamant not to get on chronic medication because I understood what it means if you start.
Don't want it to be
I don't want it to be dependent. So I was like, I'm gonna take the long road, which is what's my temperament? What are the issues? What are the things that I'm battling with? I went as far as like, did my mother taking me to live with my grandmother at 3 affect me? Do I have abandonment issues? What are the things that brought about insecurities in my relationships, if I had any? Okay, the way I speak to people, why do they not hear me? So I did the work on myself. And then if I was gonna be on medication, I was not gonna be able to deal with my emotion. I needed to know when I'm under pressure, what happens to me? When I'm going on my periods, when do I start behaving? So when it's erratic, when I'm running late, do I need to lie to you or tell you the truth? Because it's best if I tell you the truth rather than saying I'm there when I'm not. And we work in an industry where everybody wants you now, they want you here, and you're constantly under pressure. How do I manage my time properly? And I did that. And I pulled out a little bit of my career, focused on being a mother, dealt with accepting the fact that I'm a single mother, something that I didn't apply for, that I was not ready for. What does that mean? How do I deal with that? How do I go through the anger about it, the acceptance of it? Not being on medication, because the easier route as well was like I could just drink and be cool and look like this cool girl in the industry. Already people were saying Penny is crazy. How do I not live up to Penny is crazy? And the more I try to say I'm not crazy, the more they're like, that's how crazy she is. Do you know what I mean? So I had to work through that. That's literally my entire 30s. It's me healing, working myself. I even went through a process. Right. Pray, ask God, and God was like, there's nothing wrong with you. So then, when I look at mental health, I look at it from a cultural point of view. I look at it from a spiritual point of view. I look at it from a psychological point of view. I look at it from a physical health point of view. So I do a 360 analysis of it. And then I'm not saying people shouldn't be on medication. If medication works for you, that's great. For me, I don't believe in medication, especially Western processed medication, because I remember my girl from Bushbuck Ridge. My grandmother used to give me herbs when I was a kid. Tablets is things that I only came to know when I was older. So when I take a tablet, I want to know what is it, what's in it, So even my raising my children, even went through my pregnancy, I was like, I don't want any chemicals in my body. I want to go through the process of, But my advocacy says, know yourself, know your temperament, know what your triggers are. If you have to see a psychologist and then they diagnose you, let them diagnose you. But you need to know that you're going to be independent on it. How are you going to live with a dependency? How will you manage the dependency? Be informed before you make a decision about things. So for me, I have to eat fish 3 times a week. I have to exercise at least 3 to 4 times a week. I have to journal. I have to express my emotion. If we're in a relationship, I'm going to tell you how I am feeling. You have to hear me. We have to agree to disagree. I need time out. It's all of that. Same thing with my kids. Tell me how you feel. I need to know. Tell me, what do you think of this? I want to know your mind. Nobody must silence me. Anybody who says to me, I don't understand what Penny's talking about, and I'm like, yes, sis. Yes, sis. You want me to be silent for you to feel better about yourself. Yeah. So that's how I deal with my depression. I speak on it, and yes, it broke my heart when Double HP died. It broke my heart when Pro Kid died. Actually, creatives who struggle,
the industry that we're in,
it breaks my heart.
Because when people go through the most, it's like
TK
nobody's there.
TK broke my heart. Label broke. So I always say,
I'm also from. Luckily, I didn't get depressed, but I was on the brink of something like that when I went through the last time I went through my own challenge, just now a few years ago. But then you become alone, and you realize that I'm known by so many people, and I thought I have so many.
Robin
friends.
Williams.
I've got so many friends that I think are on my corner, But when things like that happen, it's like you're on your own, and you know all these people, and you're known by these millions of people.
Yeah.
But I think, and then that's when I imagine it. I'm like, oh, maybe shame these guys. That's what they were going through, because now everybody knows you.
So alone.
You're famous,
Yeah.
but then you become alone, and people don't take your calls anymore, and you just get so lonely. And I can just imagine how that becomes. I'm from then. I just had to be strong.
Yeah.
And I just always appreciate my parents for being there for me. My father saw me, rest in peace, he was still alive.
Yeah.
And my father didn't even give any, my father was like, yeah, Oba Monna Biano. My father didn't care. He was like, yeah.
It's not that he didn't care. It's how we deal with that. You know, in the black family.
families.
Yeah. You know, my parents didn't understand what I was going through, but they were there. They supported me. You know, sometimes my mom says to me, "Uthanda already pilis," and I'm thinking, "Di pilis ta eng? Akino di pilis inna?" You know, you know what I mean. But like, you know, so I've had to teach my family about that. I've had to teach my kids about that. You know, and then I have to. Also speaking openly about it, I'm always conscious of like, oh my God, anybody who comes into my life, they think, so depressed well. So what time? You know,
like even in your own family,
yeah.
like your content.
Yeah.
It's like people want to know what's going on with you. But anyway, before I let you go, I do know that time is gone. I'd like for you to look at the camera and look at yourself 20 years from today or 30 years from today. You'll be, may I so rest in peace, Mama Winnie's age or something. We'll send you this video. We'll say it's 3 decades later. Do you remember this interview? What would you like to say to Lebyane at that time? Can you look at that camera and speak to yourself? I'm not going to disturb you. Speak for however long you want to speak. What would you like to say to Lebyane there? And your kids are with you, by the way, watching this, and potentially or possibly even your grandkids. You're all watching this in a room in a big screen, and we've just sent it to you. I don't want to say it's but you know what I mean? I mean, it's life.
I'm a woman of I'm a mature age. Have you heard of Sing Felicia? She says I'm a mature woman.
Oh, she's so
I'm
classy.
29 years old. I love her. Oh, that's another one of my inspirations. She's in my top 5 actually.
Oh,
I mean, obviously you said DJs, but she's not a DJ, but as a broadcaster, she's definitely in my top 5 of people who've been an influence in my life.
So speak to Lebyane.
Lebyane. Okay.
Look at yourself.
So what do I say? What do I say? Hela, Penny, ngwanyana wa mopulana ba rena shem. Hey, o berekiye mwayo ka moka. Lebelela di banana tsa go di go die kore le faslo ka moka le kwa wena le bona gore mmera kwa go mogolo. What a great journey you've had. What an impact you've been to your generation. Very good. You've been very patient with yourself. You were right from the get-go to committing to it for the long haul. That it's a marathon, as Nipsey Hussle said, and the marathon continues. And you've got that Mamba mentality of Kobe Bryant, and you've got that never die attitude of Winnie Mandela. Like, what else can they do to you? You impacted your generation, and you are the women who are waiting for. Look at how many you freed, like Harriet Tubman, and just like Charlotte, you sat in the room and influenced the whole thing.
That's amazing. And lastly, what would you like to say to young hustlers out there that are watching?
Trust yourself. It's a process to get to trusting yourself. You'll never trust yourself if you don't spend time with yourself, getting to know yourself. Know your strengths, identify your weaknesses, work on them, but let not that be your focus. Focus on the things that you're good at, because that's how you get to excellence. You get to excel. Be committed to yourself first. No one's going to commit to you when you're not committed to yourself. And secondly, always give yourself another chance. Like when you wake up every day, actually, every hour is you giving yourself another chance. You're giving yourself another chance because God has given you a chance. So you accept that hour to say, this hour I can do things better than I did in the last hour. Then when it's a new day, same thing. And I can do better than I did yesterday. And some days if you're feeling blue and you can't do anything, self-care is paramount. Sometimes you just need to sit with your thoughts and be okay with it.
Ladies and gentlemen, the amazing Lebyane, entrepreneur, mother, broadcaster, media marvin, television, she's done it, radio, she's done it, fashion, she's done it. She is a globetrotter. She's just been traveling all these years. She's lived her best life. Inspiration to many out there, overcome lots and lots of challenges. and she's become this amazing brand that she is today. And thank you very much for coming to the Hustlers Corner.
Thank you. A female version of a hustler. Hi, my name is Penny Lebyane, aka the Fly One, aka P to the E to the N to the N to the Y. It's all about worth, baby. I've just been hustled on the Hustlers Corner by DJ Sbu.